and welcome back to another video of 10 for a tenner. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'm Pixel Paul, and if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, that would be absolutely amazing. For those of you who are returning, thanks for pressing play once again. So 10 for a tenner. I've not done one of these for a few months, but if you've not seen one of the videos that I've done on 10 for a tenner before, essentially what I do is choose a console and pick out 10 games that you can buy for that console for just £10. I've done it on PlayStation 2 so far, as well as Xbox 360, I think. So if you've not seen those videos, check those out as well. But this time around, we're going to be looking at the Nintendo Wii. So the Wii, I know it's not the most popular of consoles to collect for these days. I think there's different reasons for that possibly. There's a massive back catalogue of games for the Wii. I think there's nearly like 2,500 games available in that back catalogue, and there's a massive percentage of those which are pretty average to poor shovelware. But if you dig deep, other than the sort of big hitters from Nintendo and the first party games, if you dig deep, there are some really decent hidden gems within that back catalogue as well. So what is also good about the Wii is the fact that they are quite cheap, the games. The consoles are cheap as well, but the games can be quite cheap. So it's not a bad console to collect for, especially if you're new to collecting. If you want to collect for Nintendo as well, I mean, we all know the vast majority of the Nintendo consoles, the games, if you want to collect for them, they are expensive. So it is a fairly inexpensive way to collect for a Nintendo console. And like I say, there are some really good hidden gems within the back catalogue of the Nintendo Wii's games. So let's get on with the 10 games that I've selected. So these are all games, and their prices are based on current CEX prices, and the current prices obviously at the moment are January 2024. As I always say, these prices can change. They may go up, they may go down. I think with the Wii, and I've certainly noticed over the last maybe 2 years, I think the Wii prices have sort of stayed fairly static. So the cheap games have stayed cheap, the expensive games have stayed expensive, and the games in between have kind of just up and down a little bit, but no massive changes in the prices for the Nintendo Wii games. Whether that will change in the future, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what might affect the prices of the games for the Wii. I guess with Nintendo having a new console out potentially this year, it may depend on what they do with that console. Will that console have some sort of Switch Online type offer for Wii games, and that might affect prices? Not sure, not convinced. But yeah, in general, the Wii games have sort of remained quite static price wise. So I think the games that I've selected here will probably be there or thereabouts in terms of price, but I have managed to get 10. I've hit the £10 as well. So let's get on and show you which games I've selected. So you're brand new to the Wii collecting, and you just bought your Nintendo Wii. This isn't a bad start, I think. So the first game I picked up, and this is one of the earlier releases for the Wii, is Red Steel. Now this clocks in currently at just 50p, and that's what I mean. You can pick up some big sort of name games on the Wii for a really decent price. So yeah, Red Steel for 50p. It's not a brilliant game. It was a bit of a sort of early showcase for motion controls to a degree. The big sort of hook for this game was being able to use the motion controls to effectively sort of copy what a samurai sword does. It does it, but not brilliantly. If you want to see the sort of real potential of Red Steel in full swing, Red Steel 2 is probably the way to go. But for 50p, it's a good addition to a collection. And like I say, it's not a bad game, it's just not perfect. But yeah, at 50p, that would be the first one that I would add in. So the second one, I don't know whether you'd class it as a hidden gem, but yeah, I think it probably is a hidden gem actually. It is Excite Truck. Now I never quite know with these games whether it's Excitey Truck or just Excite Truck, because it's a bit of a spin-off from the Excite Bike games. For some reason, I remember hearing someone call it Excitey Bike. So I've always called this Excitey Truck, but it's probably just Excite Truck. But again, it's a racer game. Uses the Wii remote for controls, so you're steering like that. A bit like you do in Mario Kart. But it's a very decent racer. Very sort of arcade-like. Very easy to pick up and play. The Wii controls actually work really well with it. And it's just worth a look. This one clocks in at £1.50, so it's of this lot, it is the most expensive one, £1.50. But yeah, it's another decent addition to a Wii collection, and we'll have a quick look at that right now. So that was Excite Truck, and like I said, £1.50, not a bad buy at all. Decent addition to that initial sort of 10 games that you could add to your collection. So next up, and the rest of these games all clock in at just £1 each. So next up is Tomb Raider Anniversary. Most people who have watched my channel will know I'm a big fan of Tomb Raider, so I had to include a Tomb Raider game in there. And yeah, Tomb Raider Anniversary, decent game. Of the 3 Tomb Raider games in this sort of trilogy, this was probably my least favourite in a way. There was Tomb Raider Underworld, Tomb Raider Legend, and Tomb Raider Anniversary. But it is a really good game. It's essentially a remake of the very first Tomb Raider game. This one uses some exclusive sort of Wii features as well. So there's motion controls in there, all the usual Wii editions that you would get. But yeah, again, it's a decent game. For £1, it's got to be done. You'd pick that one up. So yeah, decent one. Let's put that there. Next up is Medal of Honor Vanguard. Now, of the Medal of Honor games on the Wii, Vanguard is probably I wouldn't say worst, but I think Medal of Honor Heroes 2 is probably the better game. But for the sake of this 10 for a tenner video, this is only £1, and I think Heroes 2 is currently £2. So I've gone for Medal of Honor Vanguard just to throw something a little bit different into the mix with this 10. Yeah, again, it's not a bad game. There is also a PS2 version of this. I think this was about the 10th, I want to say 10th Medal of Honor game. But it was yeah, it's not a bad game. First person shooter, again, sort of utilizes the Wii remote to aim, so it gives it decent sort of controls for a first person shooter, which you don't necessarily get sometimes with dual thumbsticks. In the main, it does work. I still prefer using the thumbsticks personally, but yeah, again, like I say, for a bit of variety, I've included the Medal of Honor game, Medal of Honor Vanguard, £1. That's the next game. Next up is, now I don't think you'd class this as a hidden gem, but not a lot of people have played it. It's had a remake or two. No, I think there's just been the one remake of it. It was available on the PlayStation 2 originally, then this version came out after it. I think a PlayStation 4 version was also released, and it is Rogue Trooper, and this one is the Quartz Zone Massacre edition of it. A Rogue Trooper, if you've never heard of it before, it's based on a 2000 AD comic strip. It's a third person sort of duck and cover, run and gun kind of game, but it's really good game. Obviously not quite as good as like your Gears of War possibly, but yeah, just in terms of, if you're a fan of the 2000 AD comic and Rogue Trooper in particular, yeah, it really does the comic book justice. If you don't know about the character, essentially you play a sort of genetically engineered soldier who is part of a group to begin with. They're going into war. Three of his teammates get killed. He takes their kind of chips that they have sort of like biometrically connected to each of them, and inserts them into his helmet, into his backpack, and into his gun. So they kind of are like additional characters that go through the game with you. There's a lot of funny sort of banter in there, and it's just a very decent game. I really enjoyed this. I've got it on the PlayStation 4 as well, enjoyed that version. But again, using the sort of Wii remote controls on this just makes it a little bit more different. And at £1, great pickup. So it's, yeah, Rogue Trooper, another one for the 10 for a tenner. Let's put that there. I'm waiting for these to fall off, but so far they're staying up. Next up, again, yeah, probably a hidden gem, I would call this. And this is the beauty of the Wii, in that it does have these little quirky little games that not many people have heard about. They only come in, really cheap. And when you play them, you just sort of think, why hasn't this game got that little bit more of attention? And it's mainly because it was on the Wii. But this is Little King's Story. And this is, again, sort of for a bit of variety. It's essentially a bit of a sort of real-time strategy, life, God sim type game. Bit of a cozy kind of game, really cute graphics. Sort of cel-shaded graphics, looks a little bit similar to Wind Waker in a way. Really chilled out, relaxed kind of music, and just a really nice game to play. Really easy to play with the Wiimote as well. Yeah, thoroughly recommend that. I think there was a PS Vita version of this as well. I think it may have been called something like New King's Story or something like that. But this was the original Little King's Story. Fully recommend that one. Okay. Now, if there's one genre of game that the Nintendo Wii kind of excelled at and has quite a few of, it's the old school kind of arcade light gun game. So I had to include one of those in this, and the cheapest one you can buy also happens to be possibly one of the best ones on it. Dead Space Extraction is very good as well. House of the Dead games were good, but in terms of price, I don't think you can go wrong with this one. Sega game, Ghost Squad. I think there was a arcade version of this as well, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I mean, you know what you're going to get with a light gun game. Point at the screen, shoot the bad guys. What more can you ask for? Very arcadey, good fun, works really well, to be fair, as well. The controls are really good, it's really responsive. And for £1, yeah, another great pickup. Let's have a quick look at Ghost Squad. Ghost Squad. So next up, we're into the final 3. I've saved my favourite of the 10 till last, but we'll get into this one next, and it is Zach and Wiki, The Quest for Barbaros Treasure. Now, this is one you may have heard of. I wouldn't class this as a hidden gem because I think most people know about this game. And yeah, again, it's just one of those kind of quirky little Nintendo Wii games that you feel kind of is perfectly suited for that console. It's essentially a bit of a point and click adventure, but again, using the Wii remote, it makes it really easy to play. I think I said before that Little King Story had cel shaded graphics, but it's not. It's Zack and Wiki that does. Yeah, it does look a little bit like Wind Waker. So yeah, cel shaded graphics on this, not on Little King Story. But yeah, a decent game. Pound as well. It reviewed really well when it came out. I remember, and so yeah, that's why I don't think it's probably a hidden gem. I think a lot of people will be aware of Zack and Wiki. But yeah, this a nice addition to an initial sort of 10 for your collection for the Wii. It's going to stay there. Okay, so I had to include one snowboarding game because I do like snowboarding games, and there's not a huge amount of them for the Wii actually. I think this is the only SSX game for the Wii, but it's a really good one actually. SSX Blur, so part of the EA Big series, and yeah, I mean, you know what you're going to get with most snowboarding games, but I really enjoyed this. It was surprisingly good actually. I almost sort of maybe say this is one of the best SSX games you can get. So yeah, another great addition. And then the final one, and I would class this one as a bit of a hidden gem. It's a Capcom game. Got little to no fanfare when it came out, but one of the game sort of genres that you don't see that often on the Wii is the sort of side-scrolling beat-em-up, and this is exactly what that is, and it is Spyborgs. Now, I was really surprised by this game. I'd not heard about it up until a year or so ago. It was very cheap when I bought it. It's now down to £1, so I think at that price it's an absolute steal. Really decent game, just like sort of Final Fight or Streets of Rage. Not quite as good as those because they're classics obviously, but all the same, yeah, I really think this is a decent game. Not many people have played it. More people should play it, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it when I played it. So Spyborgs, let's have a quick look at that game in action. So that is your Nintendo Wii 10 for 10. I think that's 10 pretty varied games. Good value for money because there's a few of those which you know, take a few you'll get a fair few hours of gameplay out of. But yeah, I think of them all, like I say, Spyborgs is probably my favourite. Tomb Raider Anniversary is great as well, obviously. But yeah, they're all good fun. I think if I'd done this series as a 10 for 20, or even 10 for 15, I may possibly have been able to find a few better games, because I'd say the sort of current CEX prices, from the price range of sort of £5 down, you can find some absolute gem of a game in that sort of price bracket. From £2, £2.50, £3, £4. There are some amazing titles actually in CEX for the Wii at that price range. But for the sake of this video and it being 10 for a tenner, I'd stick to sort of more or less £1, and I reckon that's the best you can probably pick up. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. If you've not seen the other videos in my 10 for 10 series, you can check out the playlist on my channel page. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, that would be great if you could drop a subscription. If you've liked the video, if you can give it a thumbs up, thank you as always. And thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye everyone.